Picture your entire neighborhood becoming rich overnight. Everyone's smiling, everyone's buying new things, everyone feels like they just won the lottery. That's exactly what America felt like in the 1920s. People called it the Roaring Twenties, and for good reason. Here's what was happening. Regular people discovered something called stocks. Think of stocks as tiny pieces of a company. If you own a piece of Apple, you own a stock. Back then, people realized they could buy these pieces and watch their money grow. It felt like magic. You buy a stock for $10 today, and next week it's worth $15. Easy money, right? So everyone started buying. Your neighbor bought stocks, your mailman bought stocks, even your teacher bought stocks. It became like buying candy at a store. And here's where things got wild. People started borrowing money from banks just to buy more stocks. They'd put down $10 of their own money and borrow $90 from the bank. This is called buying on margin. The banks, they were handing out money like free samples at a grocery store. Almost anyone who walked through their doors could get a loan. Meanwhile, factories were pumping out cars, radios, and refrigerators faster than people could buy them. Farmers were growing mountains of wheat and corn that nobody needed. The American economy was like a giant balloon, and everyone just kept blowing more air into it. Bigger and bigger it grew. Nobody stopped to ask the obvious question: what happens when balloons get too big? October 1929, the balloon popped. Stock prices started falling, not slowly, but fast, like dropping a rock from a rooftop and watching it crash to the ground. One day your stock was worth $100. The next day it was worth $50, then $20, then almost nothing. Panic spread like wildfire. Everyone tried to sell their stocks at the same time. Imagine a game of musical chairs. The music stops, and 50 people are fighting for 10 chairs. That's what the stock market became. Everyone was screaming to sell, but nobody wanted to buy. Then people remembered something terrifying. They had borrowed money from banks to buy those stocks. Now they owed money they didn't have. So they ran to their banks to pull out whatever savings they had left. Picture thousands of people lined up outside bank doors, desperate and scared. But here's the problem. Banks didn't actually keep all that money sitting in a vault. They had lent it out to other people. When everyone showed up at once demanding their cash, the banks simply didn't have it. One by one, banks locked their doors, permanently. Gone. Your life savings that took 20 years to build vanished overnight. The money you were saving for your kids' education? Gone. Your retirement fund disappeared. Even the richest people in America watched their fortunes evaporate in days. Millionaires became broke faster than you can imagine. The party was over, and what came next was something nobody was prepared for. When people lost their money, they stopped buying things. When they stopped buying, stores had no customers. When stores had no customers, they closed. When they closed, workers lost their jobs. 1 out of every 4 workers in America became unemployed. Imagine walking down your street and every 4th house, someone just lost their job. Families couldn't pay rent, they lost their homes. Entire communities of homeless people built tent cities made from scrap wood and cardboard. People called them Hoovervilles, named after President Hoover. Every morning, lines of hungry people stretched around city blocks waiting for free bread. Just bread. That's all many families had to eat. Farmers couldn't sell their crops, so they couldn't pay their bank loans. Banks took their farms away. Then nature made everything worse. The Dust Bowl hit. Massive dust storms destroyed farmland across the Midwest, making farming impossible. Children wore clothes with holes in them because their parents couldn't afford new ones. Kids went to school hungry. Some didn't go to school at all. Grown men stood on street corners selling apples for 5 cents, just trying to earn enough money to feed their families that night. The disaster didn't stay in America. It spread across the ocean like a disease. Germany, Britain, France, and Canada all fell into depression. Global trade froze like a river in winter. Countries stopped buying from each other. The whole world economy just stopped working. This wasn't just a bad year. This became the worst economic crisis in modern history. In 1933, a new president arrived, Franklin D. Roosevelt. People were desperate for hope, for anything to change, and Roosevelt gave them a message that became famous. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. He launched something called the New Deal. Think of it as the government stepping in to restart the broken economy. Here's how it worked.
The government created millions of jobs. They hired people to build roads, bridges, dams, and parks. Suddenly, men who hadn't worked in years were getting paychecks again. They built things we still use today. Roosevelt created new rules for banks. He started something called the FDIC. Now, if your bank failed, the government would protect your savings. Your money was insured. People could trust banks again. He created Social Security. Elderly people would get monthly checks so they wouldn't starve in old age. This was revolutionary. The government even paid farmers not to grow too much food. Sounds strange, right? But when farmers grew too much, prices crashed and nobody made money. By growing less, prices stabilized. New labor laws protected workers, minimum wage, maximum work hours, the right to form unions. Workers finally had protection. The government became like a referee in a football game. It set rules so the economy could function fairly. It prevented the chaos that caused the crash. Did everything fix overnight? No. Recovery was slow, very slow. But month by month, year by year, people started working again. The economy began breathing. The Great Depression finally ended when World War II started in the 1940s. The war created massive demand for weapons, supplies, and workers. Factories roared back to life. But here's why this history matters for your life today. We learned painful lessons. Your bank deposits are now insured up to $250,000. If your bank fails tomorrow, you don't lose everything like people did in 1929. The government watches the economy constantly now, ready to step in when trouble appears. We have safety nets. Lose your job? Unemployment benefits help you survive while you search for work. Get old? Social Security provides a basic income. These didn't exist before the Depression. The Federal Reserve can lower interest rates during recessions, making it cheaper to borrow money and keeping the economy moving. Banks face strict regulations preventing them from taking crazy risks with your money. We learned about diversification. Never put all your eggs in one basket. Spread your investments across different stocks, bonds, and assets. When one falls, others might rise. Economic downturns still happen. Recessions come and go, but we have tools now to prevent another Great Depression. We understand how economies work better than people did in 1929. The biggest lesson: always save money for emergencies. Always prepare for bad times during good times. The people who survived the Depression best were those who had saved something. Understanding this history makes you smarter with money today. The past teaches us how to protect our future, and that knowledge is priceless.